Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the complexities of international relations to explore a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy: the strategic interest the United States has in fostering the prosperity and development of specific countries around the world. This interest is far from purely altruistic. It's a calculated blend of strategic, economic, and humanitarian motivations that shape U.S. engagement on the global stage. In this discussion, we'll unpack why the U.S. prioritizes the growth of certain nations, examine the multifaceted reasons behind this approach, and highlight key countries where this interest is most evident. From regional stability to economic interdependence, global security to democratic values, and humanitarian concerns to soft power, the U.S. has a complex web of incentives driving its foreign policy. Let's break it down. One of the primary reasons the U.S. invests in the prosperity of certain nations is to strengthen strategic alliances and promote regional stability. Stable, economically thriving countries are more reliable partners in addressing shared challenges, from countering regional threats to advancing diplomatic solutions. The U.S. prioritizes nations that play pivotal roles in their regions, as their success directly contributes to global geopolitical balance.
Consider South Korea and Japan in East Asia. South Korea's economic prosperity, driven by decades of growth in technology and manufacturing, has made it a linchpin in U.S. efforts to maintain stability on the Korean peninsula. A strong South Korean economy bolsters its military capabilities and diplomatic influence, enabling it to deter aggression from North Korea, a long-standing U.S. objective. Similarly, Japan's robust economy, underpinned by innovation in industries like automotive and electronics, strengthens its role as a key U.S. ally in the Indo-Pacific. Japan's contributions to regional security, including its participation in joint military exercises and support for a rules-based international order, are enhanced by its economic health.
In Europe, Poland stands out as another example. As a NATO member and a growing economic power, Poland's prosperity reinforces its role as a bulwark against Russian influence in Eastern Europe. Its economic growth, fueled by sectors like manufacturing and technology, supports its military modernization and contributions to NATO, aligning with U.S. interests in maintaining European stability. These examples illustrate how the U.S. views the economic success of allies as a foundation for stronger partnerships and a more secure global environment. Beyond these cases, the U.S. also supports smaller nations that play outsized roles in their regions. For instance, Jordan in the Middle East is a critical partner due to its strategic location and role in countering extremism. U.S. support for Jordan's economic development, through aid and trade agreements, helps ensure its stability in a volatile region, which in turn supports U.S. goals of countering terrorism and fostering peace processes. In an increasingly interconnected global economy, the prosperity of other nations has a direct impact on the U.S. economy. Countries with growing economies and expanding middle classes create demand for American goods, services, and investments, driving economic growth at home. The U.S. therefore has a clear economic incentive to support the development of nations that serve as key trading partners or emerging markets. Take India, for example. With a population exceeding 1.4 billion and a rapidly growing middle class, India represents a massive market for U.S. companies in sectors ranging from technology to consumer goods. As India's economy expands, driven by industries like information technology and manufacturing, it becomes a more significant trading partner for the U.S. Bilateral trade agreements and investments in India's infrastructure development reflect the U.S. interest in fostering its growth. Similarly, Indonesia, with its large and youthful population, is another emerging market where U.S. businesses see significant opportunities. Supporting Indonesia's economic development through trade partnerships and investment initiatives benefits American companies and creates jobs in the U.S. In Latin America, countries like Mexico and Colombia are critical to U.S. economic interests. Mexico's proximity and its role in the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, make its economic stability vital for U.S. trade. A prosperous Mexico supports cross-border supply chains, particularly in industries like automotive and electronics, benefiting both economies. Colombia, meanwhile, has emerged as a key partner in combating drug trafficking while also offering a growing market for U.S. exports. U.S. support for Colombia's economic development, through initiatives like trade agreements and development aid, strengthens this partnership. This economic interdependence extends to Africa as well. Nigeria, as the continent's largest economy, is a focal point for U.S. economic engagement. Its oil industry, growing tech sector, and large consumer base make it a significant market for American businesses. By supporting Nigeria's development through trade initiatives and investments, the U.S. aims to capitalize on its economic potential while fostering regional stability. Poverty, weak governance, and lack of opportunity can create fertile ground for extremism, conflict, and transnational crime, posing threats to global security. The U.S. has a vested interest in supporting the development of nations at risk of instability to prevent them from becoming sources of broader regional or global challenges. In sub-Saharan Africa, countries like Somalia and Mali face significant challenges from poverty and weak state institutions, which can enable the rise of extremist groups and criminal networks. U.S. development aid, including programs focused on education, healthcare, and economic opportunity, aims to address the root causes of instability in these regions. By fostering resilient societies, the U.S. seeks to reduce the risk of conflicts that could spill across borders or require costly interventions. The U.S. places significant emphasis on promoting democratic values and effective governance, viewing these as pathways to stability and reliable partnerships. Democracies with strong institutions and adherence to the rule of law are typically more predictable and cooperative in international affairs, aligning with U.S. interests. In Eastern Europe, countries like Ukraine and Georgia are working to strengthen their democratic systems in the face of external pressures. U.S. support for their development, through economic aid and technical assistance for institution building, reflects a commitment to fostering democratic resilience. A prosperous and democratic Ukraine, for example, serves as a counterweight to authoritarian influences in the region, aligning with U.S. strategic goals. In Latin America, nations like Chile and Costa Rica have benefited from U.S. support for democratic governance. By investing in programs that strengthen judicial systems, combat corruption, and promote transparent governance, the U.S. helps these countries become more stable and reliable partners. This support also enhances their economic attractiveness, as businesses are more likely to invest in countries with strong legal frameworks. The pragmatic benefits of this approach are clear. Democracies with robust institutions are less likely to experience internal conflict or sudden shifts in policy that could disrupt international cooperation. By fostering these conditions, the U.S. invests in a more predictable and cooperative global order. Humanitarian crises, driven by poverty, conflict, or natural disasters, can lead to mass migration and regional instability, creating complex challenges for the international community. The U.S. often engages in development and humanitarian assistance to address the root causes of these crises and mitigate their broader impacts. In Africa's Sahel region, countries like Niger and Burkina Faso face severe challenges from climate change, food insecurity, and conflict. U.S. aid programs, including those focused on agricultural development and climate resilience, aim to build stronger communities capable of withstanding these pressures. By addressing the drivers of displacement, the U.S. seeks to prevent large-scale migration that could destabilize neighboring countries and strain international systems. In Central America, the U.S. has a similar interest in addressing the root causes of migration. Countries like Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, often referred to as the Northern Triangle, face challenges from poverty, violence, and weak governance. U.S. development assistance, including programs to improve education, create jobs, and strengthen security, aims to create conditions where people are less likely to undertake dangerous migrations to the U.S. border. These efforts highlight the intersection of humanitarian and strategic interests. By alleviating suffering and building resilience, the U.S. not only addresses moral imperatives but also reduces the risk of crises that could have far-reaching consequences. The COVID-19 pandemic underscored the importance of global health security. The U.S. has a clear interest in supporting the development of robust public health systems worldwide to prevent and contain infectious disease outbreaks that could escalate into global pandemics. This is both a humanitarian and national security priority. In Africa, the U.S. has invested in programs like PEPFAR, President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, to strengthen healthcare infrastructure in countries like Kenya and South Africa. These efforts not only address immediate health challenges but also build capacity to respond to future outbreaks. Similarly, in Southeast Asia, U.S. support for public health initiatives in countries like Thailand and Vietnam helps prevent the spread of diseases that could cross borders. By investing in global health, the U.S. protects its own citizens while contributing to global stability. A world with stronger healthcare systems is less likely to produce pandemics that disrupt economies and societies. Finally, the U.S. uses development assistance as a tool of soft power to build goodwill and strengthen diplomatic ties. By supporting the economic and social progress of other nations, The U.S. promotes its values and interests while fostering positive relationships. For example, U.S. educational exchange programs, like the Fulbright program, bring students and professionals from countries like Brazil and Egypt to study in the U.S., creating lifelong connections and fostering mutual understanding. Similarly, infrastructure projects funded by U.S. aid in countries like Ethiopia and Bangladesh demonstrate American commitment to their development, enhancing diplomatic leverage. This soft power approach can be more effective than military or coercive measures in shaping international dynamics. By investing in the prosperity of other nations, the U.S. builds a network of partners who share its interests and values. The United States' interest in the prosperity and development of certain countries is a multifaceted strategy driven by strategic alliances, economic interdependence, global security, democratic values, humanitarian concerns, health security, and soft power. From supporting allies like South Korea and Poland to fostering emerging markets like India and Nigeria, the U.S. recognizes that a more prosperous and stable world benefits its own security and economic interests. While the specific countries and priorities may evolve, the underlying principle remains. Investing in global prosperity is an investment in a more secure and cooperative international order. By understanding these motivations, we gain insight into the complexities of U.S. foreign policy and its role in shaping the global landscape.